It seemed like Leon had caught on to the meaning behind my words. He was simply playing along and crossed swords with me. To the eyes of bystanders, this certainly appeared to be an actual battle. If I were too careless, I could actually be killed by the slashes. On that note, did he really understand me? The look he gave told me that he probably knew Granbell was behind everything. We just had to wait for the right moment. And before that happened, we just needed to pretend to duel. At least that was how I envisioned it. Yet, Leon's swordsmanship refused to give me any room to breathe. His speed was extremely fast. While Hinata's rate of attack was swift, Leon was no slower. He had a very beautiful stance, typical of practicing orthodox swordsmanship. I, on the other hand, had incorporated some personal tastes to my swordsmanship after learning from Rapier. Since using a sword was not my only means of combat, I couldn't help but add my own flair. Moreover, with Raphael's monitoring, it wouldn't be too unconventional. In any case, that didn't really matter. I was just complimenting how clean Leon's attacks were. It truly made me question whether he was actually planning to kill me with his attacks or not. In addition, Leon's face was essentially an emotionless mask. That meant I couldn't tell if he had killing intent by looking at him, which began to really concern me that my message hadn't gotten across. Report. No problem. According to analysis of predict future attack, he is striking in coordination with you. Ah, what a relief. I'll let this continue while Raphael-sensei takes over with automatic battle mode. Putting that aside, there was something else that was unsettling. I had been getting feedback about small earthquakes. At first, I suspected it was plate displacement, but it was quite intense. My guess was that it was Lumina's doing, who was currently absent. There were problems everywhere. This unrest was no longer just a minor incident. It was already far beyond just the simple involvement of other nations. Had I not been the person at the center of all this, a complaint would have definitely been filed to escalate the whole thing into an international affair. Although, Luminas probably wouldn't let a complaint affect her anyway. Putting that aside, Diablo had yet to return. Sean and Ranga were struggling against an insect-type monster called Razzle. While Hinata and Granbell appeared to be on par with each other, I felt that Granbell still had more strength to spare. It was obvious to me that if the battle were to continue any further, the odds would soon turn against Hinata. The various battles, as a whole, were not ideal. It was almost impossible for me to judge which one I should handle first. As I was analyzing the battleground, I detected an intense mana explosion underground. It was from Luminous. The stone tiling of the Grand Cathedral floor was blown away, breaking open a circular hole with a diameter of 2 meters. A pillar of light shot from it and instantly evaporated the ceiling as it dissipated in the sky. The power of it was insane, but such an attack was probably a piece of cake for Luminous. Granbell, it looks like you are seriously trying to be my enemy. Luminous emerged from the hole in the ground while holding a beautiful woman. And as soon as she came out, she interrogated Granbell. Her killing intent was palpable. Looks like the situation is changing. Leon seemed to bear the same thought as he turned his attention to Luminous. Kukuku, as expected from Luminous-sama. Even my familiar was not able to stop you. I had to infuse it with the power of many other worlders, and it was my greatest masterpiece. Foolish man. No matter how much power you infuse into that knockoff, a mindless golem can never compete with the real thing. You should know something like that best yourself. Of course I know. Granbell was still very calm in front of an agitated Luminous. Hinata's strikes against him had become even faster, yet Granbell parried them easily. I knew from experience that Hinata had some way of stealing skills from her opponents, but it seemed that she was unable to invoke it this time. Speaking of which, arts and skills were different things. You wouldn't be able to use an art immediately, even if you stole it. You could only master them through years and years of training and accumulation of experience. The reason why Granbell was so strong was probably due to exactly that, years of training and research. His center of gravity did not shift an inch, maintaining his balance like a steady mountain. Leon and I whispered to each other, impressive. Looks like he wasn't bluffing when he said that he was an ex-hero. This was a little bit unexpected. We were ignored as Luminous and Granbell continued to speak. What in the world are you planning to have done this? Luminous said while gently laying the woman in her arms down. She looked like she had fallen asleep. No, she was already dead. As the name suggested, she had merely been turned into a familiar through the manipulation of her corpse. Since she did not have a soul, no matter how much energy was inserted into her, it was meaningless. I knew this point very well. Maria has already passed away, and yet you chose to desecrate her like this. Luminous apparently knew this woman. Was her name Maria? She looked quite similar to Mariabelle, could she be? Because it is necessary. Everything I have done was for this exact moment. Facing a confused Luminous, Granbell took off the glove on his left hand, revealing an engraving on it. It began to glow, and responding to it was the body of Maria, which also started to shimmer along. What are you doing? Luminous questioned loudly, but this unfolding event was undoubtedly on everyone's mind. Leon and I stopped to observe. At this point, keeping up this facade with each other would just look ridiculous. I almost couldn't remember why we were fake fighting in the first place. An unbelievable phenomenon was occurring right in front of us. Maria's body turned into a beam of light and was absorbed into the engraving on Granbell's hand. Soon after, Granbell's body quickly began filling up with power. It was not only his magical content. His physical body also seemed to enhance. Granbell's were now rejuvenated. His white hair transformed into a shiny golden color, and his withered skin regained their elasticity. The hero of the past had returned to young Granbell Rosso. His eyes were sharp. I understand now, you even put my love energy into Maria's body. Luminous shouted while Granbell nodded in confirmation. I recalled that love energy was the power to help maintain one's youth. Was that power originally granted to Granbell now fully restored in him? Whatever the case may be, the end result was the Granbell in front of us. Luminous Sama, no Luminous. Our duel has yet to be settled. I remembered that I can't die before this is all over. Now that Mirabelle is dead, my ambition has changed, but I still intend to complete one final wish. You scum. Don't you underestimate me now. Two people responded to Granbell, and they were Luminas and Hinata, respectively. Granbell, now revitalized, turned his head towards Hinata. Ah yes. Hinata, there are still things that I've yet to teach you. You are the most talented among all the students I've taught. You have always been ambitious and worked hard to hone your skill. Outstanding is not high enough of a praise for you. However, Granbell casually swung his hand, releasing an unbelievable attack. Melt slash. No way. Can you really manipulate spiritrons like that without chanting? Hinata sure was impressive to have dodged that unscathed, but her accomplishment paled in comparison to how Granbell was able to unleash the ultimate holy sword art with ease. It was a feat simply beyond imagination. He had become an unthinkable monster. Hinata, in the past, I was very confused about why you couldn't become a hero. One cannot dream of becoming a hero through talent and hard work alone. Without the endorsement of spirits, it is impossible to obtain the credential. That said, however, you were endorsed by spirits, and yet. How unfortunate then. So what if I was endorsed by the spirits? I simply can't become what is impossible. Had you awoken as a hero, it would have surely helped with my ambition. Allow me to give you a word of advice. Is there darkness in your heart already? You killed someone close to you, haven't you? Your parent, sibling, or perhaps a friend? Shut up. Hinata had previously kept her distance in order to dodge the melt slash, but now she charged forward to close in on Granbell. Her eyes were brimming with rage. Granbell's words probably hit a nerve. The clashing of swords resounded. Granbell remained still. Instead, it was Hinata who was sent flying away. The difference in strength was too overwhelming. Comparing Hinata to Granbell was like comparing an infant to an adult. I could barely believe my eyes. You could not accept a light spirit into yourself. Overcome it. The darkness in your heart is nothing more than an illusion fabricated by your own mind. You must forgive your past self and be proud of the life you lead now. Then, you shall see the light. I told you to shut up. Hinata shouted frantically as an expressionless Granbell watched on. How regretful, Hinata. Had there been more time, I could have given you the proper guidance. If you cannot understand my words, then you shall experience it in person. If you cannot protect what you yourself want to protect, then you are delusional to think you could save the world. This is bad, my instincts alerted me. This conversation put everyone's attention on Hinata. If Granbell had calculated all of this, his goal would be. Warning. According to results of predict future attack, his target is. Once Granbell swung his sword, the disintegration released from his slash could not be stopped. Rather than a slash, it was more like a strike, something akin to a melt strike. The strike would travel at nearly the speed of light and pierce straight through its target. This was why I bolted towards that kid. Yet according to my calculations, I wouldn't make it in time, even at full speed. But perhaps if I activated gluttonous King Beelzebub and consumed the entire space in front of me, I could not capture spiritrons traveling at the speed of light. But since I knew that his target was Chloe, I should be able to make it. Chloe. I shouted. Then it was all over. Hinata took action first. Without a hint of hesitation, she jumped in between Chloe and Granbell's attack. Sacrificing herself, she let Granbell's melt strike hit her directly in the chest. It instantly pierced through, and Hinata coughed up blood as she fell to the ground. However, this merely reduced the momentum of the beam as it continued to approach Chloe. Unexpectedly, another individual jumped into action right after Hinata. It was Venom. Just like Hinata, he planned to sacrifice himself in order to protect Chloe. Likely out of loyalty for Diablo's order, Venom had been extremely focused this whole time to ensure the children's safety. That was why he managed to make it in time. Goo, that hurts. He seemed pretty energetic even with a gaping hole in his stomach. As expected from demons. So long as their soul remained intact, they would be perfectly fine even if their bodies were destroyed. It might have been a different story if Granbell's target was Venom, but that was not a question I had time for. I managed to make it, thanks to the extra time Hinata and Venom bought. I consumed the entire space in front of Chloe. With that, I appeared in an instant. Now I just had to use absolute defense of Covenant King Uriel to protect Chloe. Rimuru-sensei. Hinata, Onijin. Chloe only paid attention to Hinata, and while it was kind of rude to Venom, I couldn't blame her. I was concerned about Hinata too. Luminas ran towards Hinata to inspect her wounds. Hinata, are you alright? Hinata, Onijin, you can't die. Oi, Chloe. I wasn't fast enough to stop her before Chloe bolted away. The rest of the children wanted to follow her, so I swiftly put them to sleep using paralyzing breath. I gave Venom a healing potion and instructed him to protect the children. Chloe, you say? Is it really Chloe? Leon seemed to be acting a bit strange, but I didn't have time to worry about it. I chased after Chloe and reached Hinata. On one hand, I was keeping my guard against Granbell, whilst on the other, I was examining Hinata's situation. This is... Oi, Luminous. Quiet. The Spiritron corrosion is progressing too fast. Although her superficial wounds were being healed, Hinata grew weaker and weaker regardless. The Spiritrons were destroying her spiritual body. At this rate, even her astral body would start eroding. If that happened, even she. It was then that Hinata opened her eyes slightly. Go good. You're doing great, Hinata, stay awake now. No, Luminous-sama, I cough. Hinata would be in mortal danger if this continued. But even so, Luminous, who was more skilled at holy magic than me, could not drag Hinata back from limbo. Granbell's skill truly was deadly. Chloe, it's good that you are unhurt. Despite the blood dribbling from her mouth, Hinata managed to hold herself up. She had a will of steel. Even though her eyes were unfocused now, a smile still hung on her face. Hinata extended her right hand to Chloe. It was trembling. She held out her moonlight rapier and a bracelet, the holy spirit armor. Chloe, I'll leave it to you. Still, as your master, it seems that I couldn't do anything, but you'll be able to. You'll be able to surpass me. Hinata's sentences were broken up, but she was able to convey the heart of her message to the weeping Chloe. Hinata, Onijin. Chloe reached out her shivering hands to touch Hinata. And in the next second, Hinata's body began to glow, with the light seemingly drawn to Chloe's hands. Am I seeing things? Even Luminous was quiet. Or rather, time had frozen for a brief instant. Chloe's cry reached my ears. You are lying. I didn't know about this. Why? It's not time yet. Oi, Chloe. As I called out, Chloe vanished without a trace, as if she were never here to begin with. I recovered swiftly. What happened just now? Chloe, where are you? Rimuru, damn you, what did you do to Chloe? Leon demanded as he clutched my shoulder, yet I was equally confused. Where did Chloe go? No, I have no clue. Could she really have just disappeared? Seeing how I was behaving, Leon seemed to believe the truth behind my words. He began to anxiously turn his head around in search of her. I, on the other hand, felt incredibly shocked. What just happened? I had absolutely no idea. Unknown. Situation is abnormal. No information can be obtained regarding what occurred with individual Chloe Albert. To my surprise, even the usually reliable Wisdom King Raphael offered no information about the situation. Nevertheless, I didn't even have time to be dazed.